Cool. All right, so we're live on your channel. Welcome. Hello.
Give people a little bit to tune in.
Yep. So I'm gonna start on my channel too.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've actually spoken to each other. So I just learned a lot about you in the first 15 minutes, but it's like it's amazing. It's crazy how we actually got into crypto at pretty much the same time, like 2012, right? $10 per Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it feels like I kind of know you already, Michael, because I've been watching your videos for a year
or
two.
Really? Nice.
Or it's just weird. It was the same when I got to have a chat with Omar the other day. It's like, I feel like I know you, Omar, but you don't know me.
Good. Welcome everyone to my channel. So I'm going live as well. Hopefully everything on my end is fine. So if you guys, I'm on the my chat channel as well. So give me a shout out if my audio is broken. Just quick introduction. Alex is from Nuggets News, down under in Australia.
Yeah.
And I think it's the first time I actually explored the Australian scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep it a very casual discussion today. Just talk about everything crypto. I think we had a huge list of just pretty much everything from how we got started to what's happening in various areas, China, in Australia. Yeah. And we also got quite a different topics like gaming or dApps or anything in the future. So we're welcoming. It's
and
just give me a second.
Yeah, and for my audience, I've been a big fan of Michael because he definitely covers some things that we don't have great knowledge on. So he talks a lot about gaming. He's got lots of friends in China. He was sort of got into crypto through the mining side of things. So I'm really looking forward to picking his brain about all that.
Excellent. Just give me 1 second. So I'm just trying to figure out how this works. So I had a double repeat in audio. So hopefully you guys are fine. And then let me also just double check YouTube to make sure YouTube's all right. Because I'm streaming through Restream, and Restream bugs out for me sometimes. So yeah.
Sounds good on our end, says Paul. G'day, Aaron. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Smash the likes as always. Says Ivan. Did Ivan coin that term? Smash the likes.
No, actually, I think it's a popular YouTube term, and then like Superman and Ivan and everyone says that. So
yeah, okay.
Because it's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a running meme. All right, so I think we're good. I think we got people streaming. With the stream's on. Awesome. It's a weird time to stream, but for me at least.
That's what happens.
But I think
some people actually believe Australia doesn't exist, Michael, because of their flat earthers. They tell us that Australia doesn't exist because of the time difference. But anyway, we won't get into that.
Flat earthers, man, I love it. All right, so we have your voice is very low, Mike. Just let me fix that a little bit. So now it should be a little bit better, and then we should be good. We got Alex from Crypto Candor, so welcome, Alex. Yeah, Alex says Restream gives me trouble too. Yeah, I hate it. I hate Restream.
Audio is
just a million.
Right? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, audio hopefully should be good. And we see Joe Brandon and Zen Crypto Trader. So welcome everyone, and we should be live on YouTube there. So sorry, not YouTube, Facebook there. Hi everyone.
Awesome. Well, Michael,
so Alex,
do you want to get started? Tell us about how you got into crypto.
Sure. So my crypto journeys have been covered by a lot of mistakes. I think I started off my channel just kind of talking about and sharing all the mistakes I made in crypto. So started off in 2012.
Yeah.
At that time, I was talking like a little bit longer story. At that time, I had 3 gaming GPUs. So it's 3 gaming computers, and they were all fit with gaming GPUs. And the reason for that was because I was running a lot of like bots on Diablo 3. So I did that, and then they weren't always fully used. So then I was like looking for ways to make money, and I found this Bitcoin thing. Like, what is this weird internet money? And I got into it from the mining side. So I knew that my GPUs were could mine Bitcoin, and I got emails like even emails from this day like that daily amount mined was 0.3 Bitcoin. But obviously at that time it was nothing, right? It was like it was $10 per Bitcoin at that time. So that time, my girlfriend at that time was like, "You're better off picking cans off the street. Like, you're a dumbass."
Wow.
So that kind of sucks. Then I was like, okay, fine. It's still kind of cool. And there was this, I was calculating, you know, how, because electricity was free, so I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I can harvest them as much as is possible, and it's kind of pure profit for me. I just need to figure out how much I need to make for my GPUs.
Yeah.
And so I started off like kind of being a super noob coming into the space. I sold very early, just to cover costs, and also when it pumped from $10 to $15, I'm like, it's a bubble, guys, it's a bubble. 50% pump in a day.
Yeah.
So very a lot very early. Then I think 3 years later, my dad was like, hey, you know that Bitcoin thing you were talking to me about? Like, that's $1,000 for Bitcoin right now. I'm like, oh God. So so that happened, and then obviously I left everything in empty box because like that time I was like, exchanges, they must be really safe, they know how to keep Bitcoin, you know. I left all my crypto in empty box. That was great. um and then that fell apart. So made a lot of mistakes in crypto, but at the same time I think I learned a lot. Then I learned, you know, okay, you gotta keep your private keys, you gotta do everything. And the funny story was, I went back to every mining pool I was in, and there used to be a lot of like 0.5 Bitcoin, 0.7 Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin that I just left there. I was in like a few different pools because I was trying them out, and sometimes, you know, you just don't take it out. So I was like picking up all the pennies I had before and just like harvesting that because it was worth so much money now. So it's kind of like I was kind of lucky I wasn't super diligent. But I didn't get that much. And I think my biggest regret, I said, was that when Bitcoin did hit 1,000, I was just so deterred from going back in because I felt like, oh man, that's like there's so many regrets along the way. Right. And when Bitcoin shot up to, I think, 2,000, 3,000, I was like just like full of regret. I'm like, oh, I'm hoping it'll crash down back to like $10 so I can buy again. Hopefully I can like turn back time. But I think, and because of all that regret, I didn't really do anything. I think that was the second biggest regret, was that I had too much regret. So I never learned about Ethereum. I never learned about all the other coins out there. And then it's kind of funny. I kind of got back into crypto, and then I was like, maybe I just should talk about it. And I started this channel. I didn't really think much of it. I was just thinking, okay, look, you know, YouTube, why not make a two-way conversation? And I learned a lot from everyone on this channel. So that's what I'm super thankful of. Sorry about these notifications. I'm just gonna try to mute that.
Yeah, right. I can't hear them on my end, so I'm not sure if they
right.
But
right.
Well, congratulations is in order, because the channel, nearly 200,000 subscribers, is pretty insane for something you start off as a bit of a hobby.
Yeah, super lucky. So just totally didn't expect it. Still learning a lot because I don't think I'm like the most YouTube friendly guy, like not very charismatic, or you know, I'm constantly very self-conscious of myself. But that's the thing. It's like you just start and then you figure out where you can go.
I completely agree. Like, I'm a bit of an introvert and I don't like public speaking or big crowds, but it's very different. It's kind of comfortable to get in front of a camera and put it out there to lots of people, but it's very different to actually doing it in real life, I think.
I think so. And I think it's all about experience, right? It's all about that 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell was always talking about. You gotta really refine that craft. And I think it's been an interesting 2 years. Really glad to do a lot of this, and it just takes a lot of time trying to figure out what you want to talk about, and then share that. And you know, the community is really, really awesome.
I better share all my regrets then, Michael. So guys, I got into Bitcoin in 2012, but my journey probably started when I started studying in 2007. So I'm a pharmacist, and my real interest was investing, and that was in the GFC. So I was watching all these documentaries, conspiracy theories, and I just wanted to find out about how the world works and how money works. And I was a gold bug back then, gold and silver, and people were telling you that they were going to go to the moon, and every year they were saying that the world's going to crash and end next year. And after a while, I thought, you got to look at both sides of this equation and how they're pumping.
But that was 2007, right? So right before the financial collapse. So you probably did make a lot of
this was probably right after when I got really into
documentaries.
Got it. Okay. And then around 2012, I read about Bitcoin on zero hedge, and I just thought, wow, because I'd grown up with computers and I loved them, and I thought this is just the mixture of computers and the digital modern age and that gold and silver anti-banker sort of movement that I was so passionate about. And definitely lost a lot of Bitcoins to hacked exchanges in the early days. There was one in Australia that went under, and I only put my Bitcoins on there because my computer was getting serviced and I didn't want to leave them on there for the people to find. And that's a huge regret. I guess that's why I'm so passionate about getting people to learn how to store their crypto and that these days.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And then I'm a big believer in karma. So if that had have never happened, I lost a lot of Bitcoins, I would have never found Ethereum. And then I started making videos for the wider public rather than just talking to my friends and family who thought I was crazy for all those years about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's just really, Nuggets News has just really taken off from there, really. But I'm very excited where we're going now. We get to see blockchain being experimented in different industries. And I think Bitcoin is still the king. And I think money is still the best use case for blockchain. But I think Ethereum and other platforms are going to show us all sorts of different use cases we haven't even discovered yet. And that's why I want to talk about gaming and other things today.
Yeah, I think it's the money aspect of it is amazing, and you can hear the argument. Recently, I went down the rabbit hole again. I mean, I knew that the financial system was messed up, but I didn't know how much. So just when the JP Morgan coin came out, and I was just digging more information, I knew that HSBC was laundering money for the Mexican cartel. I knew there were so many things messed up about the 2008 financial crisis, but I just didn't know that all these banks are fined so many damn times for essentially money laundering.
Yeah.
For they didn't go as far as funding terrorism. Okay, so I think none of them got found for funding terrorism, but you kind of know if they're hiding money for and laundering money for the Mexican cartel, what else can I do? They're also fined for currency manipulation, consumer rights protection, you name it. And it's not even like they were accused of doing something like this. They were like fully found guilty and pleaded guilty. Even the JP Morgan case, they pleaded guilty to money manipulation with trying to manipulate currency prices with 4 other banks. I'm like,
well, in Australia, we've just had this royal commission, literally a royal commission into how bad the banking behaviour has got, and we've got a housing bubble now, I think, because of it.
Yeah, it's seriously, it was just a stark reminder of how messed up the financial system really is. So that's why I made the video, like JP Morgan is a scam. I guess it's just you just need a repeat boost of that,
Yeah, I think that's probably something that we should dive into now. What are people going to do? What's the public going to do as we have, at first it's JP Morgan, and then it's another bank, and then it's, Facebook coin, and one by one, everyone's going to put their own sort of currency. And I think people are kind of going to realize that it's not really anything like Bitcoin, and it's kind of going to bring people back to the values of where Bitcoin came from.
Yeah, I think so. I think, and this bear market really taught us a lot as well. It taught us that there's going to be a lot of failure. But anyways, let's talk about the failure stuff later, about the other coins and the other ideas. But I definitely want to focus on the idea that I think Bitcoin really disrupted the banking sector. It's crazy how you think about it. I mean, JP Morgan, one of my arguments was that JP Morgan didn't actually invent blockchain. They just adapted it for their own needs. So it's kind of like proof that blockchain is the best technology out there for purposes of sending and transmitting value across different nations. So it's like a validation of our technology. They took a freely available technology. The second thing is they're validating the idea that I think they only really deployed a coin like this because the idea of us keeping our own currency and us being able to transfer that currency works. If it didn't work, if we didn't challenge your system, I don't think they would have been on the innovation path. There was a lot of technologies that, if you think about it, what they were trying to disrupt with the JP Morgan coin is really just international payments, right? So disrupting the wire transfer. And the reason why the wire transfer was never changed was because there was no reason to change it.
Yeah.
Right? These banking cartels, they can make their fat paychecks just off of wire transfers and essentially sending digital messages to each other. It's not even moving physical currency. So
that was probably one of the light bulb moments for me when I went overseas and had to send a present or buy something for a couple $100, and it was like a $50 international transfer fee, and then you got ripped off on the exchange rate. And from a $200 present, I probably had to pay another $100. And I thought, we live in this digital instant world where you and I can sit here and have a high definition conversation. But if we want to send each other money, like, we're getting absolutely fleeced, and it's worse in some other countries in those remittance corridors.
For sure. And it's like both sides too, right? Back in the day, if you send a wire transfer, it's like you got your bank charged you money and then their bank charged you money. And how does that even make sense, right? So what were your thoughts about this JP Morgan coin? Like,
I just think it's just another USD stablecoin for all intents and purposes, but they're talking about it being private and in-house, so it's got even less use case than a USD stablecoin. It's not going to steal any market share, I don't think, off Bitcoin whatsoever. If anything, it's probably going to just, people say Bitcoin and blockchain, this thing's legitimate. It's not a bubble that's popped, and hopefully people come down the other funnel and find out about the technology. But I want to ask you what you think about Bitcoin and these arguments in the different camps about store of value, medium of exchange, unit of account. I actually think Bitcoin is all those things depending on who you are and where you live.
Yes.
Like, if you're in Venezuela, it's been a great store of value. If you're in China and you can't take money out to get money into Australia, then it's a great medium of exchange. And it's all a scale, whereas I think we all sit here and argue black and white, is it this, is it that?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think Crypto Daily actually brought up that there's so many ideologies in crypto, and he didn't want to kind of be oppressive and say my ideology is right. At the end of the day, it's so international. So definitely, I totally agree with you what you said there. In fact, in China, Bitcoin is actually a big store of value as well, simply because right now the RMB is not a very fluid currency. You can't really easily move it in or out of the country. So people choose it, and not just that, you can't move it in or out of the country, but also the government could potentially say, "Hey, that's mine."
I really wanted to pick your brain about China, where you think they're at. Are they going to come out with this regulation, or are they going to pick one or two chains and say, "Hey, we're going to monitor those really closely"? Do you think the floodgates are going to open, or is it always this sort of they just don't talk about it? It's never officially banned, but it's not exactly legal either.
Well, actually, okay, so in terms of legality, China's really messed up because what is official doesn't always matter. So that's where you have to read in between the lines. So China, officially, ICOs are all banned. So shitcoins, anything that's not a currency is banned. And a currency, technically, the use case is also bad. You're not allowed to have exchanges. They came and shut down all these exchanges. But then what happened was that the exchanges, to keep alive, the rumor, and I believe this, is that they gave portions of shares, equity shares, to key figures in the government. So actually, now you can almost consider these exchanges like OKX will be essentially like government-run entities now. They're fully within the grasp of the CCP. Also, exchanges, the exchange leaders are not allowed to leave China. So that's actually quite interesting. So basically, they said, okay, you've done some illegal things, but you can keep doing them. But you're not allowed to leave China. You're essentially just like stuck in Beijing. But
I think it's interesting how each government is reacting. And in Australia at the moment, government have said, give us some feedback. How should ICOs be regulated? How should crypto be taxed? And myself and another gentleman who's a lawyer are going to present to the Australian government in a couple of weeks. And hopefully they're a bit open-minded and they listen. But it's very interesting to watch what Malta are doing versus other countries that just say no. And I definitely think there's some industry here, and you're going to miss out on it if you don't sort of adopt.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I definitely see so. And Malta is just really going head in first. I think the situation with China was that they wanted to keep it under control because they don't want value leaving the country. So that's why they basically took control over these exchanges. They want to make sure that Bitcoin does not become a way that becomes unmanageable. Right now, I think the lucky thing about Bitcoin is that it's still small on the government radar,
Mm.
because I mean, we just got what 130 million billion, sorry, 130 billion dollars of market cap, and
Yeah.
we don't even know if that's real or not, right? So when it gets to trillions, then the Chinese government's really gonna be like, okay,
And central
now,
banks. I think one
and
of
central
the
banks, yeah.
Ben Bernanke or someone came out and said crypto's too small to even worry about or acknowledge. And I think that next run up it has, when all of a sudden it gets into a little percentage of their market share in their country, they're going to say, okay, we've got to do something now. Like, this is starting to compete.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so, and even for regulation wise, I mean, right now, um, a lot of regulation is being built around a bunch of these scammy ICOs that just make these false promises, throws out the word blockchain, and boom, Bob's your uncle. But eventually, when it starts becoming really disruptive for the banking system, that's when regulation and all these governments are really going to pay attention. Sorry.
I think one of our recommendations is an easy fix just for ICOs to register who they are and what they're doing, and that way you almost get rid of all the scams straight away. Because I think people were sort of wising up and people were getting smart to the scams and the bad ICOs. So I think the space was kind of maturing already. Do you think that's right, or do you think it's always going to be bad?
The space was maturing for the people who were in the space. I mean, the problem I think in China was the offline stuff. It wasn't really the online scams that was a problem. I've been to a conference called FinWise. So this is done by the Eric Gu from Metaverse. That was my first crypto conference. I just passed it by pure chance of, and there were like, I think 50, 60 cryptocurrency projects all soliciting there.
Yeah.
And it was what they say offline, because if they say stuff offline, they don't have a record of that. So they can say whatever they want. So there was like what T chain, merit chain, I don't know, anything like some weird travel chain. It was like anything you can think of plus blockchain. And a lot of these people who they were soliciting to don't have any sort of blockchain education, because it was offline, because it was just attracting a bunch of random investors and stuff. So that continued on for quite a long time. Even after China technically banned ICOs, they moved it to Macau, and then there was other ways to solicit offline. And I think that was the scariest, because offline people can just say whatever they want and they can just run. A lot of times they just end up like raising a bunch of capital, even if they're registered, raising a bunch of capital and just running away.
So I want to talk about gaming then, Michael, because this is something that growing up with Half-Life and all that games, I just love how computers have evolved. And
so are you a big gamer? Are you
growing up, definitely Half-Life, Counter-Strike, Super Nintendo, 64. I never got full into like World of Warcraft or Diablo or any of those, but certainly grew up with a lot of computers and had some LAN parties on weekends when we were in high school.
Nice. Those were the days, right? Where you carried a computer out and
Age of Empires, it was a simpler time, I tell you.
Oh man, Age of Empires was great. That's
But
Age of Kings, right? Did you play Age of Empires or Age of Kings?
Age of Kings, Titan Quest, all those ones. But
oh shit, nice.
I was going to say, being someone that's loves stocks and investing as well, it's been phenomenal to watch Nvidia and AMD and these chip and graphics card processors just go up so much in price. But I actually think that in 20 or 30 years from now, we're going to have more devices and more just processing power everywhere around us. And I think gaming, VR, and augmented reality, it's all going to kind of meld into people going to work from home and so many Internet of Things talking to each other. Do you want to talk about how you see this all sort of playing out?
Yeah. So gaming's really changed a lot. So there, and the gaming really branched off too. So right now, almost everyone's a gamer via our mobile phones. So that's kind of cool, right? So back in the day, it was kind of like, oh, it's this kind of more nerdy culture or geeky culture where we played all these games. But now gaming is fully mainstream. So there was this big push in gaming to make everything kind of mid-core or very soft-core. So you got Candy Crush,
Yeah.
which is extremely fun. But there were also hardcore elements in it where there are certain levels that were impossibly hard. And the game designers do very well that this was impossibly hard. And they would use to milk a lot of that for money. So I think gaming is actually really cool. And the innovation for crypto in gaming was, I think, I hate to say this, crypto kitties.
Yeah.
So crypto kitties really took off. I mean, that's how everyone talks about crypto games, and they start off with the crypto kitties idea because crypto kitties made a lot of money, right? So from the investment standpoint, everyone wants to invest into ideas that are like crypto kitties, and then from a breaking Ethereum standpoint, they broke Ethereum for 3 weeks, essentially making transactions
Yes.
extremely expensive.
We've got a quick donation here from Vention, who's saying that in Argentina in 2012 they seized retirement accounts and he started buying silver. So he's got Bitcoin to pay his house off. So good on you, and thanks for the donation there. But
Nice.
Keep going, Michael, and talking about where you see. Do you see this VR AR melding and surgeons working from home with their computers and stuff like that?
Nah.
Too far, too futuristic.
I think it's just a bunch of bad words. I think these are different ideas, right? So if you go back to the idea of CryptoKitties, it brought us this idea of something that's written fully on the blockchain. That was cool. But the problem with CryptoKitties is that it's pretty much a pyramid scheme. I think it's a lot of people don't realize this from the get-go, but you're buying cats, and a lot of people are buying cats for the purpose of just breeding more cats. So your biggest primary pillar in that game is always about breeding, making more cats, and it was a big breeding factory. We see it's slightly a bit different now. You got more variations to play with, and some people collect cats. But when CryptoKitties was blowing up Ethereum, why prices were so expensive was because there were breeders who were programming and these bots that would breed their cats so then they can sell their offspring as fast as they can, and that way they can make money from it. So you can see these articles that people were making tens of thousands of dollars off CryptoKitties. And it's just kind of like the Pigeon King. If you look at these cases in the past where there's a breeding scam where you buy these pigeons off the Pigeon King and you try to breed them and then you sell it back to him, and then at a certain point it doesn't work because it's a pyramid, right? So there's these elements, but there is also fun elements as well to CryptoKitties. That's why a lot of people do still enjoy them. So I feel like CryptoKitties was a good, interesting example. It's a good and bad example. It showed us what we can do, but it didn't really show us the true potential of what we can do. So right now we're kind of in this awkward phase where like, okay, how do we go beyond CryptoKitties? How do we become? Because there were so many clones, right? Tron dogs, Crypto Llamos, whatever you call it.
Yeah,
just using that collectibles, and you want to move beyond just simple collectibles like that. So every time people talk about gaming, I'm like, just move beyond CryptoKitties. Think of being a little bit more imaginative, and do not fall into the trap of making a card game, because everyone then says, okay, I'm going to be super creative. There's this cool card game called Hearthstone where you play collecting cards, but you don't actually trade those cards. So they're like, okay, we're going to fix that problem. So we saw, I think there's a Zombie Battlegrounds and a bunch of other like these card games. I think even Coinbase sponsored one called Gods Unchained.
Yeah.
All these games were trying to basically do Hearthstone but with trading. That is like the biggest mistake one can ever make in gaming, which is to copy an existing gaming model, but change the monetization scheme. Because if you change the monetization scheme, you're gonna break everything basically.
So what do you have any favorite gaming projects or non-blockchain sort of companies that you're really bullish on?
Yeah, so for me personally, I've been looking at the space and I've been seeing more better projects going on. So as you probably know, I'm not a big fan of all the big ones. What my policy is, you know what? I might support them $20, $30, just support them trying out an idea. But
Yeah.
I don't ever think that this is an investment. I think a lot of people, they go head in like, oh, gaming is going to be huge. It's not an investment, but rather it's um, it's a kind of a Kickstarter supporting. I want to support you kind of thing. So that's what I've been doing. I've been saying, okay, look, you guys have some cool ideas. I'll just throw my $20 in. That's pretty much it.
I think that's something that we told people very early on, that personally I've got the majority of in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, the things that I got into early. And when I'm investing in something small, I put in, like 1%. And so many people, you talk to them and they got 50% of their bags in this one coin or project they love. And you say, guys, you don't realize how risky these are. They're tech startups, they're blockchain startups, and it's an ICO. Like, you just can't go too heavy.
For sure. So yeah, that's what I think it's important. Everyone says I'm like, everyone I think has this mentality of, not everyone. Okay. A lot of people have a mentality of just all in, balls deep. That was kind of the culture back in the day, but realistically, you gotta hedge your bets. Even though it seems like all cryptos move together sometimes, but
that's a phenomenon of itself, isn't it? Yeah,
and it shouldn't be, right? They're so different, right? Tokens and all these things, they represent something, but what they can represent is totally different, right? It can tokenize a cow, and that should be very different from tokenizing, I don't know, a house.
Yeah,
they shouldn't move together.
I don't know
something
if you
like
want
that.
to talk about some of your favorite projects, but it's frustrating for some of the great projects that I love in Australia that have made a lot of progress. They're doing really good things, but they're down whatever the market's down, 90%. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think the market inefficiencies haven't been weeded out yet, and it was kind of interesting just to talk about markets and everything like that. But one of the discussion topic was like, are crypto markets efficient? And the answer should be hell no. Like a lot of people still don't understand crypto markets, and there's a lot of information discrepancy as well. So initially, before I was talking about how us on the internet, we're informed in a certain way, and then there are people who are running funds, and they have even more access to information because they can directly speak to founders of projects, or they can speak to Blockstream or core developers. So they have access to more information and insight. And then there are older funds that have even more information because they were the ones who created Ethereum. Like, they were sitting beside Vitalik. If you think about Fambushi, Fambushi has been around. They were incubating Ethereum.
Yeah.
So it's scary how much kind of access to information they have, and we need to share that. Otherwise, it's gonna be a messed up space. I think we have a lot of centralization in crypto in terms of centralization of information.
Just a question we've got, Mark, a bit of a chat going on, and it goes back to, as you were just saying, centralization in crypto and China. What do you think about mining and being in China and how that's going to all play out? Do you think people are going to turn away from Bitcoin and focus on mining? Proof of stake coins are going to become really important, or what do you think about mining?
Mining, there's so many misconceptions of mining. It's not even funny. There are mining pools in China. That's right. A lot of the miners actually left China. Because of or they're living outside of China. They may still have bases. So we know something like Fish, F2 Pools, Fish. He's not based in China anymore. I won't say where he is, but he's not in China. So there's Chinese people who are running pools, and people aggregate that data. So it seems like a large portion of that mining is in China. But what a lot of miners are potentially doing right now is, I heard that one of my big mining friends is working on projects, say, in Canada, where there's 2-cent electricity. So it kind of like, it's much more decentralized than what we think it is, because we get the aggregate information from the pools, but even the pools themselves may or may not be in China.
Yeah.
So that's one of the misconceptions about mining. I saw these ridiculous things before, so I just wanted to dispel that, because EOS was saying before that, oh look, we got 21 nodes, and look at how perfectly decentralized we are. But mining pools don't represent mining communities and mining individuals.
Exactly,
they just aggregate a bunch of people together. So we don't really know how many miners there are, and there are small players. what I do say is that centralization in mining is coming from the fact that it's getting harder and harder to make a profit with just one person alone. So one of my big miner friends, all he does is he sources cheap electricity. So he kind of put mining operations as a multifaceted, many people operation. So he would just be in charge of one small aspect. There might be someone who's sourcing, say, ASICs or producing ASICs. There might be someone who's sourcing land or getting deals for the government and getting tax breaks.
Yeah.
So mining has become such a big operation and needs a lot of people. And that's why mining is still profitable for a lot of people. A lot of people you see on the news that, oh, mining is not profitable anymore because we calculated electricity costs at like 12 cents per kilowatt hour. And then that's not going to make a profit. You're going to lose money.
Try coming to Australia where it's like 30 cents. But anyway, yeah.
Ouch. Right. So that's why there's so much like false news, and the worst part is that the miners community actually encourage that. So because they know that the more people that comes into the space, if they tell people, hey, look, it's easy to make money with mining, you just need 3 or 4 friends that know that they're shit.
Yeah.
The more people come in. So the mining community doesn't actively dispel that illusion. But let me tell you guys that mining is profitable. That's why they do it. And then it's not. A lot of them moved out of China already. They might be Chinese run, and they might have other partners. But
yeah, I think when we read this stat that 70% of mining comes from China and it'll all fall apart if they get shut down, as you say, like sitting here in Australia, we can join a Chinese pool and it's a misrepresentation. So
yeah, for sure. Just take questions. So I don't have access to your one. I should.
I'm keeping one eye on it, but I just wanted to quickly talk about what's going on in Australia more so for your followers.
Yeah, sure.
I think a lot of people don't realize that in Australia, since 2015, you've been able to pay any bill in crypto or bank deposit. It's called Living Room of Satoshi is the website, and they support 14 different cryptocurrencies now. They've just adopted Lightning, so you can now buy your coffee literally with Lightning Network. So Brisbane Airport, we did the official release. So every shop at Brisbane Airport, and there's another airport that's got FOMO that's going to be coming on
nice.
soon. And you can ring up and book your whole holiday to Australia with crypto already. We Travel by Bit, who Binance bought a 10 or 20% stake in. So there's so much happening here in Australia. We've got 250 registered exchanges, which is insane for the number of people that we have.
Yeah.
But I think
so. How is that even realistic? How do these exchanges even make money? Because like if you have like 200, 300 exchanges, like
well, that's what worries me. I'm getting messages on Telegram saying, "Hey, will you make a video about our new exchange? We need users." And it's kind of like, what's your point of difference? Like you can only list so many coins, and then if you're small, then the volume's terrible. And if you just list Bitcoin, then you've got no point of difference to another exchange. And it's just like the ICOs. 99% of these exchanges are going to die.
That's scary, man. Because I mean, because we were talking a little bit before the stream of how crazy Australians are for crypto. So, are there a lot of meetups that you guys see in different regions? Is the community very together?
So back in the alt season, there was so many meetups, and we were getting 400 or 500 people to some of these meetups in Melbourne and Sydney. Blockchain Australia, who I've just joined the board of, they're going to organise a lot more meetups going forward and try and have sort of one location in each city where everyone knows that there's going to be a meetup. But there's already some great meetups regularly in Sydney and Brisbane. But I think what it's like in crypto winter, where people will come out and start talking about it more once let's be honest, this is a pretty depressive sort of time in crypto, and people don't want to talk about it.
So do you notice shifts though? Like in Hong Kong, actually, I've been getting notifications that all the events are starting to get packed now.
Okay.
So it's kind of like interesting. They're actually like they're actually thinking of doing like talks twice because there's just so many people. Is that happening in Australia right now? Or
I definitely think we've noticed an uptick in interest, and we're getting new subscribers and all that sort of thing ticking up, even though the price hasn't ticked up yet. So I think we're sort of washed out all the people that were just purely speculators, and they're gone now. And I think we're seeing the people that come in are genuinely interested in crypto, and I'm looking forward to going around and seeing how many people we do get here. So the first ever meetup we had, there was just one person turned up in 2013, and I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you actually did events all the way back in 2013. That's crazy.
In Tasmania, which is my home state, yeah, we had we
Hmm.
tried to get Bitcoin ATMs and we got one, and we tried to turn like really pump the tourism side of things, but it just never took off. It was just too early.
Right. And even just in Tasmania. So right now, do you have a say an OTC desk that you guys all meet up, or a Bitcoin cafe that you guys all kind of meet up, or a bar or something that you guys hang up in?
Yeah, so we have Maple Cafe if you're ever in Launceston. They're one of the 300 merchants that are supporting all these cryptocurrencies that have signed up to that website I mentioned before. You can go in and buy your beers and your lunch and pay with Litecoin, whatever you want. And that's just started to take off now since Binance bought a
Hmm.
stake in this company and the word's spreading about crypto. We had
Yeah.
a Chinese family ring up and book their whole holiday and pay for their flights, go to the Great Barrier Reef, everything in Bitcoin. And once
Oh,
that
nice,
once that
nice,
sort of the word spreads, I think it's just gonna really grow. So yeah.
nice. We got Norman says, "Fuck yeah, Tasmania," on my channel. That's great. Um, we got. I see some. So yeah, I'm trying to follow up the chat. So I'm probably the worst multitasker in the world. So
Blockchain
I have to
Brad.
apologize
G'day, Blockchain Brad.
for to everyone. Hi, blockchain Brad. Let me see and say.
Blockchain business from real utility proof. I think we're seeing a shift. I think we're saturated. I think all the actual ideas and platforms and things that actually do have some sort of utility, I think that's been done to death now. We've got one of everything, and people want equity in a blockchain based business, or we're going to see actual businesses just using blockchain privately behind closed doors for enterprise, and that doesn't even really need tokens and so on. So that's sort of the three areas I see, Brad, apart from true cryptocurrencies that we're using in everyday life, I guess.
So this is regarding crypto use.
Yeah, Brad's just saying about the switch to sort of business blockchain use and away from utility tokens and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a whole minefield, right?
It's a lot.
Because business is like, what problem are you solving, right?
Well,
When it comes to application of blockchain, I think we really need to see like what are we trying to solve in this circumstance, and it's actually quite hard because not everything is known right now. Like maybe there might be a great idea. Just for example, token ERC20, like um, it took like 2 or 3 years before ERC20 is really took off as a token.
yeah.
It takes a long time, especially for businesses to see the use case. I think right now we're still looking at a few concepts, but what you're saying is also a little bit true in a sense that they can use blockchain behind closed doors, and the blockchains without a token, surprisingly, no one talks about. I mean, Hyperledger, what the hell is that, right? No one cares about Hyperledger. Like,
Yeah.
but it's amazing for business use. I mean, IBM is pushing that really hard. Um, it really depends. It depends on like which parties trust and don't trust each other. So it's a whole new rabbit hole for me.
Yeah, and if you've got a blockchain that needs users and they are going to use the token, then you create network effects versus if you're working behind closed doors and you don't need or don't want to build a community. There's all these different use cases, I think.
So what's your view? Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question about Bitcoin. So I mean, you got into Bitcoin very, very early. What are your views on Bitcoin now? I mean, there's certain bit of FUD about Bitcoin not being very state of the art, being a
Yes.
little bit more behind. So what are your views? What do you usually and also core's gone crazy. That's the other narrative. So what are your views there?
I really think that Andreas does provide the best sort of balanced approach. So I think that you need to have layer one as a bedrock, and look at how hard forks have got to get through. Like we had 90 odd percent of miners signaling for SegWit2x, and we still couldn't get it through. And so I think it's so hard to make adjustments to that base layer. So I think we do need layer two, and that way we can scale far past these other things. And just like Bitcoin mining was centralized at one point, I think that Lightning Network, we've already got plenty of nodes in Australia, and we're going to find routes, and we're all going to have them running nicely and help each other. And I think that network effect's going to take off. But I think that Bitcoin is going to be the ultimate hard money, the ultimate store of value. In Australia, people park so much money in real estate because they think it's going to go up over the long term. What happens when Bitcoin just starts trending higher and people think, well, I'm going to park my money in something else? So artwork, anything that's a store of value, I think Bitcoin can compete with that if it stays this sound hard money and has all its properties. And I think, yeah, the network effects and the method of payment, if you want to send a large amount of money and it's going to cost you 20 cents, that's not really a big deal on layer 1. And if you want to spend your payments during the day in layer 2 and you have some $500 in your phone, I think that's fine as well. And I think that's where we're going to find that medium.
Yeah, I think so too. Talking about Lightning, I definitely feel like it's gonna be one of the things that everyone's gonna be talking about this year, because it's actually quite easy to use if
100%.
provided that you can set it up properly. So I first started off with Lightning Network just using the Blue wallet.
Yes.
Not sure if you guys use that. So that was easy, right? It's easy mode. You just connect to it. You transfer your Bitcoin onto the wallet and you just transfer a little bit amount and just put it into a payment channel and send deal. Then you want to go up to a little bit more hardcore, and you're like, okay, I want to run my own node, because if you run your own node, that's like when it's most decentralized. You can join this network and provide liquidity to the network. So I'm currently at that stage right now. Have you been running your own node? Have you been doing any of that nerdy stuff?
No, I haven't. I've been using Wallet of Satoshi, which is a custodian wallet, but I think that's the next step. So get people familiar with invoices, how to tip. Tip and me on Twitter I installed the other day so we can tip each other with Lightning.
Yeah, I installed it. It didn't work very well for me. I don't know. I think it's a weird... but yeah, I'll definitely be...
But I think we're getting there one by one, and yeah, people will have their wallet, then they'll use it. Just like with Bitcoin, they use it on exchange, and they think, you know what, I will download the wallet and install it and back up my private keys, maybe run a node once that gets easier. So I think this is all coming.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's kind of funny because the only issue that I'm gonna go full on nerd here. So the only issue is that if you're using Lightning and the node goes down, that's when you gotta report to the blockchain and say, look, okay, these are all the transactions that happen. Bitcoin, please arbitrate it. So layer 1 arbitrates these layer 2 transactions. This is why you're okay with centralization, or people accuse that of centralization because there's not that many nodes in Lightning and you're all connecting to one or a few of these centralized nodes that provide a lot of liquidity, and you can send from Lightning to each other. But the good side is, the flip side is that you can always prove on the blockchain that everything happened. So the only time that you can't prove it is if the node goes offline, then you have a certain amount of time to submit your proofs to the blockchain.
Yeah.
But if you don't have your proofs, then that becomes a problem. So that's when you want to run your node. So recently, I've been trying to figure out how to run my node. So I got the Lightning daemon running, and then connecting that to my phone was just such a big pain. It just seems to be like one small error in whatever I'm doing. So I think I'm like just 2 more days from like fully running my node and connecting it to... Right now, the Blue wallet's a little bit hard to get a node on, but right now...
Have you used Wallet of Satoshi?
No, I have not used. I'm trying to use Zap because it's the easiest one to install on your node, because you install the Zap Connect and then you scan the QR code and then you connect your node up with your wallet. The other stuff, anything else, it requires even more things to be installed. So in terms of installation, you got to install the Bitcoin daemon. That's the first one. And then you got to install the Lightning daemon. Then on top of that, you got to install some way to connect and communicate with this Lightning daemon with either the Zap Connect, or there's another like website host thing that you want to do for Blue Wallet. So for Blue Wallet, it's even harder. You got to install another server to wire 3 things together. It's insane.
So what's that company that have brought out the little Bitcoin box that you can run your own node in?
Oh yeah, that's Casa.
Yeah, that's
node
right. So I think we're going to have that for Lightning, and if I can buy a Casa node for $100 or $200
yeah,
and plug it in, sit on my desk and support the network, we've already seen it go from 10 nodes.
You did a review for that, right? The Casa. I thought, did you do a hardware review for that? Or?
No, I haven't reviewed the Casa node. But,
okay. I thought it's not you then. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw someone do it. I'm like, oh man, this is so cool.
Dogecoin creator, the Aussie guy. What's his name?
Jack Palmer.
Yeah, Jackson Palmer. That's right. Yeah.
Jackson Palmer. That way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Any other questions coming in, mate? Or what else did you want to talk about? Or we better wrap it up soon, have some lunch.
Yeah, we better wrap it up. It's been an hour, so an hour and a half. Actually, wait, no, it's been an hour.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be easier. Like once that hardware comes out and that rolls out, like when I was installing my Node, I was like, shit, I should just like buy one of these. And I think I will. I will buy one of those things to plug at home. But I just wanted to I just wanted to do it myself. Just kind of like do it for the first time.
When are you coming to Australia, Michael?
Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Are you gonna travel yourself? Are you gonna go around Asia to check out, what's happening in the Asian scene, European scene, or the American scene?
Definitely. We wanted to go. I'm glad we did pull out of the dev cons and that when it was crazy in the bull run, because I know you went to it and I just got this vibe that it was so fake and so busy and it just wasn't really worth it for a lot of those ones where everyone was just trying to sell you an ICO. But I'd love to go in an environment where it's calmed down a bit and you get to talk to good people. And that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, the dev cons are actually okay. So dev cons are like the Ethereum dev con was fine. Neo dev con was actually pretty good too. They actually had like classes to teach people how to develop. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
What gets crazy is like the other ones, like the general ones where it becomes like, just like you definitely like, even consensus was like, it was bad.
That's the one I'm
it
thinking
was
of.
pretty
Yeah.
So the dev cons are great. I think that's a great way to start to learn. I'm actually very interested in checking out any EOS ones. So I did Ethereum, I did Neo, I did the VeChain meetup, I did let me see, like a bunch of the dev and even with the Dash conference. But
I think for me, I love focus on building and working in the crypto winter. And then once things are good again and, we've got more money to spend on travel and stuff, then that's when I'd love to go out and travel and meet everyone.
So what are you most excited for this year? What do you think is going to be like one of the biggest trends this year?
I'm having a baby next week, so I'm pretty excited about that, Michael. But crypto, things I'm exciting about with crypto. I think we're going to see the people realize that this wasn't a bubble and a fad. And when Bitcoin starts to go up again, or whatever project it is has a good milestone, it gets users and it's just on this sort of onwards ramp, and who knows what's going to start the next bull market, if it's only going to be some small coins or it might be everything again, I don't know. But when the general public realizes that, hey, this thing that everyone was laughing at and calling dead and the media bashed, when they realize that it wasn't a bubble and it's not dead and this is going to be an industry, that's what I'm most excited about.
I think so too. I think so. And it's going to be a long time. I think the bull market made us feel we're closer to adoption than it really is. Yeah. I think in many cases, especially for businesses to accept Bitcoin, it's going to be hard. What we see a lot, recently I've been, buying on G2A. If you're a gamer, G2A is a CD keep selling platform and they accept Bitcoin. Or so for some countries, Kinguin, I think, is doing that too. You see a lot of these online like CD key or even VPS or cloud services. They're starting to take Bitcoin. I think there's a legit reason for them to do that, because payment's so expensive, so they don't want to get they don't want to pay that 10-12% PayPal premium.
Yeah.
But for shops, it's actually much harder. Like physical shops is much harder for them, because they get customers that can pay cash, they can pay credit. Learning about this extra Bitcoin thing is going to be a little bit harder for them. So it really depends. Like I feel we're still very far away from adoption. And the reason why you're taking it, like, are you taking it as just as a medium of exchange, or are you taking it and storing it? These are interesting questions that we're going to face in the next 10 years, I think.
Yeah, and I think we'll continue to have cycles. So the next cycle might not necessarily be the mass adoption, everyone's using a cycle. We might have all these little ones before, so yeah.
We're going to have a lot of little ones. That's going to be great. So anyway, I think Michael, that's going to be...
I just want to say thank you, because I've loved having you on
so
today, much. And you're a great ambassador for the space. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, man, Alex. Great to meet you up for the first time. So...
Cheers.
Cool, man.
I'll close the stream off. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and check out Nuggets News. You're on YouTube and on Facebook a lot. I see you on Facebook.